On the far north side of Chicago, just blocks from the wind-whipped shores of Lake Michigan, Orela Rose grew up watching two people give everything to serve others. Her father, a firefighter, always racing into flames when others ran from them, and her mother, a nurse, gentle hands calming frantic patients in sterile white corridors. And even as a child, she knew she would follow in their footsteps. She just didn't know yet how. At Lakehead University, Orela majored in hospitality, hoping to one day bring people together through the warmth of shared meals and stories. And during her freshman year, she met Emily, a fellow student in restaurant management, who helped her through her transition. Emily was obsessed with horror. Her dorm always echoed with eerie voices from a long-defunct podcast called All Things Wicked This Night. The host, Sable Ward, was particularly fixated on a horror writer named Cliff Barra. Barra's stories had been turned into cult classic films in the 1950s, complete with grotesque costumes and oppressive set designs by the legendary art director Alex Damaro. A war survivor, Damaro infused his sets with a visceral dread, a darkness you could feel pressing in around you. Orela and Emily were hooked. They'd spend hours in the Hard-Boiled Cafe, a quirky coffee shop and bookstore with a 50s mystery theme, dreaming of something bigger. Their idea? A horror-themed restaurant like no other. A place where guests could step inside the twisted worlds of Barra and Damaro, where stories came to life, costumes breathed, and every dish served was a chapter in the macabre. To test the concept, they launched a Halloween haunted house, transforming an abandoned college dormitory into the Haunted Madhouse of Doom. Orela led groups of screaming students through blood-splattered padded cells and rusted torture chambers, down corridors echoing with ghostly wails. Emily, ever the performer, played a tortured patient on a shock table. When a guest threw the switch, her headpiece would spark and hiss as she convulsed with banshee-like screams. They'd done it dozens of times. Laughter, screams, applause. But that night, a freight wire sparked. Emily didn't scream, she froze, face twisted in a silent, horrified grimace. There was smoke, the smell of something burned. Orela pulled the plug. The spark stopped. Emily was still breathing, but barely. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was gone. The very next day, Orela made a life-changing decision. She walked away from college and set her sights on a new path, becoming an EMT. The helplessness she'd felt before was something she could never bear again. Her parents, though taken aback, were quick to offer the full support. Within a year, Orela found herself behind the wheel of an ambulance, racing through the streets, saving lives. It was as if the job had been waiting for her all along. With a natural ability to calm and comfort those in crisis, Orela proved to be a beacon of hope in the chaos. Compassionate yet fiercely protective, she effortlessly stepped into the role of a leader, uniting people in moments of dire need, always with a steady hand and a warm heart. But not a day passed without the memory of Emily, or their dream, that restaurant, that world. She knew it would take years to afford it on her own, but fate had other plans. One rainy evening, she responded to a brutal crash. The victim, unresponsive, no pulse. She performed CPR, deployed the defibrillator. One shock, two, and then life. The man she saved? Billionaire John Kingsley. Grateful beyond words, he offered her more than thanks. He offered her a chance, a fully funded dream, and a location, 900 Blood Lane, right across from an old cemetery. Because, of course it was. With the perfect location secured and financing in place, Orela gathered a team of friends to help her bring her vision to life, the most immersive horror experience ever created. Screams in the Dark would open just one weekend a month, but each event would feature a completely new set, theme and menu. It didn't take long before it became the talk of horror enthusiasts everywhere. People were captivated by the unique Barra da Maro aesthetic, and soon, many fans were urging Orela to open more often, 6 days a week. But for her, it wasn't about the money. She was perfectly content balancing. Her weekdays spent saving lives, with a dash of horror and mayhem once a month. One particular time, she decided to base the experience on a Barra tale about a mysterious fog that transported its victims to another dimension. Some whispered that the words of the story were cursed, that they had the power to make the readers vanish. Orela had laughed off those superstitions, dismissing them as mere folklore. That was until later that night. A black fog suddenly swirled around her, creeping from the shadows. She rushed outside, but to her horror, the fog was everywhere, thick and suffocating. She froze, heart racing, and called out to her friends. No response. Then, in the silence, she heard it. From the depths of the dark, a voice called out to her. But Orela didn't panic. She never did. Years of training and experience had taught her to stay calm, to think first. So she pushed forward, the fog thickening with each step, until a chilling realization stopped her in her tracks. The cries, soft and desperate, sounded eerily familiar. They were her own, but they came from everywhere and nowhere at once, swirling around her like the mist itself. A cold shiver ran down Orela's spine, something she hadn't felt in years. She couldn't deny it. Her dream, her creation, had somehow morphed into a living nightmare, one straight out of the cursed story she had once laughed off. A story that spoke of a fog that pulled its victims into another world, a world where time and reality lost all meaning. Before she could process this eerie observation, the cries rang out again, louder, more urgent, and this time there were many voices, overlapping in the desperate pleas, and then one voice cut through the rest, a voice that chilled her to her core. Emily. Her heart skipped a beat, but Orela wasn't one to be ruled by superstition. She snapped back to reality, the weight of her role as an EMT and protector washing over her. She forced the panic from her mind, her focus narrowing to the task at hand. There were lives at risk, and she wasn't about to let whatever this was take them. She moved through the darkness, searching, always searching for the wounded, for the lost, before it was too late. Enter the portal, remain in the fog.